Clothing and fashion have changed a lot in the last 60 or 70 years. Fashionable ladies in the 1890s wore dresses like these every day. Heavy, elaborate dresses made almost entirely by hand. Men's clothing too was hand-tailored, and both men's suits and ladies' dresses were the result of hours of patient work by tailors and seamstresses. No wonder fashionable clothes were too expensive for most people, just as they were really too cumbersome for anyone leading an active life. A gentle stroll in the country was quite enough exercise for ladies weighed down by heavy, fashionable tweeds. And it must have been difficult to keep cool at the midsummer races in a frilly, tight-waisted dress like this one, in spite of the lace-trimmed parasol. Today, the picture is a very different one. The busy people who crowd the streets of British towns and cities see and wear the latest fashions every day. All around them, there are shops displaying fashionable clothes which anyone can buy ready to wear quite easily and cheaply. For the British ready-made clothing industry grew very quickly after the development in the late 1920s of new materials woven from man-made fibers. There has been a great social change too in recent years, and more people at every level of the population find that they can now afford to dress really well. Today, magazines and daily newspapers report the current fashions. While the vast team of skilled workers employed in the clothing industry can provide hundreds of women with fashionable dresses like this one, inexpensive to buy, yet as well designed as any expensive model. For every new style of dress, whether it is to be tailor-made or ready-made, begins life in a designer's mind. Perhaps the line of this dress seemed to him ideal for showing off a pretty new cotton print. Now, after the sketches of his idea have been agreed, a single model dress can be made up to his design. But not until this model is passed as perfect does the creation of the dress pass from the designer to the master pattern cutters. In this important department of every clothing factory, the special features of a dress are added to the basic dress patterns and then made into individual patterns which can be followed by the garment cutters in cutting out the parts for dresses to fit women of all shapes and sizes. In the old days, this work was carried out by the tedious process of scissor cutting by hand. Now, electrically driven power saws can slice through dozens of layers of dress material at the same time. Modern machines like these are so accurate and save so much time that they are making possible the production of better and better quality clothes at lower and lower prices. Sewing machines, like these in the making-up department of the clothing factory, are a familiar sight, since many people use similar ones in their own homes. But only an industry can afford to have special machines for putting an invisible hem around a sleeve and for finishing off the raw edges inside a dress. As for buttonholes, a machine like this one would have gladdened the heart of home dressmakers. It stitches the buttonholes and then cuts them, quickly, accurately, and without effort. Of course, there are some jobs which are still best done by hand. Details such as belt loops and your guarantee of quality, the manufacturer's label. When the dresses have been cut, made up and finished, they are still not quite ready to be packed. Each completed dress is very carefully examined before being dispatched to a dress shop. For the leading dress manufacturers in Britain have a long-established reputation for good quality, which they take great care to protect. Britain is already one of Europe's biggest producers of ready-made clothes, and export sales have increased by more than a quarter in 5 years. But not only Europe knows British ready-to-wear dresses. They are sold on every other continent as well. Fashion consciousness nowadays does not belong to women only. The modern man, too, young or old, stout or thin, short or tall, can buy a ready-made suit which will fit him perfectly. Men's suits don't change a great deal from season to season as women's clothes do, but the manufacturing process is similar, and the same careful attention is given to quality and detail. This suit, for instance, will be one of hundreds made in this same style and material, but the tailor takes as much care over its hang and fit as he would were this suit to be the only one of its kind. For in spite of all the new machines which are speeding the production of clothing, there are still a number of men, like that tailor and this young cutter, who even today are practicing traditional skills. In fact, they may have learnt these skills from their fathers, since many men working in the clothing industry are the second or even third generation to follow the craft. This woman, sewing the lining into a suit, is also practicing a skill which these new machines can't do for her. And she, too, is carrying on a tradition. For women have always done much of the fine work in the production of both men's and women's clothing, while the heavier work, like the cutting and steam pressing, is usually reserved in the men's clothing industry in particular for men and heavy machines. But the great success of the ready-made clothing revolution is largely due to the designers, men and women who are able somehow to sense what the public will want a year or two in advance, and to the buyers who come to seasonal fashion shows given by the clothing manufacturers to choose the garments which their shops will want to sell. The judgment of these buyers must be both imaginative and shrewd, if their shops are neither to run out of a popular style too soon, nor be left with a row of unwanted dresses. For in the end, of course, only popular acceptance can decide on the success of a new style. However, the development of new fabrics, new designs, and new manufacturing processes means that there will be no lack of styles to choose from, while the high standards of British workmanship will ensure the quality of each and every garment to be sold ready to wear.